Despite winning over UFC legend Petr Yan in Abu Dhabi, Sean O'Malley is convinced fans are not impressed. He thinks he would have gotten more respect if he lost to Yan, since that's what everyone expected. But either way, the win has shot him up the ranking as he's the #1 ranked bantamweight in the division now. Keep watching this video for more on Sugar and his rise at the UFC. First up, he was supposed to get whooped. We totally get what Sean is trying to say here. He was going up against an MMA veteran who was once a UFC bantamweight champion. In short, Sugar was supposed to get whooped. He wasn't supposed to last toe-to-toe against such a formidable superstar. And with that being said, Sean thinks he would have gotten more respect if he had lost the fight. Because look at it this way, he was supposed to lose all along. He wasn't supposed to last 3 rounds against such a tough former champion. But since he won, the fight world is going nuts saying O'Malley got lucky. In fact, the 28-year-old thinks people are still having a really tough time believing he won the fight. Now, here's the interesting bit. Yan was also pretty blown away by the result. And when Daniel Cormier interviewed O'Malley afterward, he wasn't too convinced either. He said he'd have to go home and watch the fight again to see whether he did enough to win it by split decision. But a day after the fight, we're guessing Sugar got the time to sit down and watch the fight in detail, because that's when he tweeted that he did deserve to win the fight because he inflicted the most damage. And that's what's got everyone hating. Well, not everyone, but the majority of fans started saying that he didn't deserve to win against Yan. Guess what, ladies and gentlemen? The guy won, and he's now the #1 contender. Now, for takedowns aren't enough. Now, Yan did have more control time and takedowns, no doubt about it. He threw Sean on the ground like what, 6 times maybe? But it's not like something favorable came out of it, right? Those takedowns might have meant something if Petr was able to capitalize on them or something, like maybe put O'Malley in a choke and get him to tap out, or maybe mount himself on the 28-year-old and batter him in a vicious ground and pound game, but none of that happened. Sean survived every single takedown, and if you ask us, he did way more damage. He significantly outstruck the former champion, including a very unsettling knee to shake him up. So yeah, it makes sense why the judges scored it a split decision victory, since both gentlemen did put up a solid display of fighting. Yan clipped Sean on multiple occasions as well, and we'd be lying if we said this wasn't the toughest fight of his career. But at the end of the day, a W is a W. It doesn't matter if it's welcomed by the fans or not, but as long as it's fair, it goes down as a win on record. People can throw shade at Sean all they want, but the truth is, he defeated one of the most dominant bantamweights in the history of the game. And that's probably a little hard to digest for a lot of fans out there. With this win, O'Malley has lined himself up for something serious now, perhaps even a shot at the title. Moving on, a hyped decision. Was this a hyped decision though? Listen guys, we're all for the Sugar here. We think he won the fight fair and square, but do you think this decision had something to do with future sellability and hype? O'Malley is on a roll right now, there's no denying it. And if we ask you to name the bantamweight cash cow, what name comes to mind? Sean O'Malley, right? The UFC needs this guy, and despite winning a clean fight, Dana needed the decision to go in his favor. Now don't get us wrong, is Yan going up against Aljamain again to take back the title? Now that's a really interesting fight, no doubt about it, but a young superstar in the making going up against a trash-talking veteran like Aljamain is just so much more exciting and sellable. Again, this is just a theory. We're not saying the UFC robbed Yan to make more money or something. Sean did just enough to seal the deal, and it just happens to be good business for the UFC since they can now set him up for a blowout title fight to mint some easy millions. But could the decision have been influenced by future sellability? It's highly possible. We'll let you be the judge. Following up, an opportunity well seized. The MMA professional had been craving this opportunity for quite some time. He wanted to go up against a big name and prove that he has what it takes. He finally got his chance in the fight against Yan, and the result couldn't have been better. So with his win over the dominant Russian, where does that place Sugar in the rankings now? Well, as we said before, he's the #1 contender now. He's sitting just 1 spot away from Aljamain Sterling, who might just end up being his next opponent. It was an opportunity well seized if you ask us. But the surprising thing about this victory is that it literally catapulted him 10 positions in the ranking. He was sitting at the very bottom, but after a smashing performance against Yan, he's now the #1 contender. And if we're talking about the general landscape of the division, it also opens the doors to a lot of other interesting matches as well. Now, it's highly possible that Dana White might want to test Sean against Merab, but at the same time, there's also a possibility of Yan making an appearance against Merab. Either way, it's opened the space for a lot of exciting matches with O'Malley and Aljamain Sterling at the very top of the list. Up next, is he going to get robbed though? There's this one match that might end up getting in the way of O'Malley's title shot though, and it's a fight no one can even guess. To be honest, it's a bit difficult to wave this one off because it's an equally exciting matchup, and it'll also feature a true superstar, a former double champion, the one and only Henry Cejudo. Henry has been plotting a comeback to the promotion for quite some time now. He's already made it super clear that he wants nothing but a championship fight. Now his natural division is bantamweight, so this fight makes complete sense. And if we're talking in terms of business, it's a fight that the UFC wants. Cejudo is a big name in the world of MMA. Not only is he a controversial character with a cult following, but like we said before, he's the former double champion, and a fight between him and Sterling will result in nothing but a sellout. Time for the real question now: could Sean be robbed of his title fight? It'll be pretty unfair if he doesn't get a shot at the bantamweight belt after becoming the #1 contender. The least Dana could do is match him up against Henry, so it's fair to everyone, you know? And just because Cejudo is a big name doesn't mean he's entitled to a title fight on his return, right? But anyway, let's see what Uncle Dana has in store for us. If our opinion matters, we want nothing but a title fight featuring Sugar Sean O'Malley. Last but not least, a slight disturbance. O'Malley shouldn't worry if he has to face a slight disturbance before getting a shot at the title. And by slight disturbance, we mean none other than Merab Dvalishvili. But maybe he should be a little worried. Merab is a force not to be reckoned with. He's currently on an 8-fight win streak, and if you ask us, he's equally eligible for a shot at gold. So what better way to decide who gets a shot at the title than a fight between Merab and Sean? We're still going to call it a slight disturbance, because if Sugar truly has what it takes to become the bantamweight champion, a fight against a guy on an 8-fight win streak shouldn't bother him that much. It'll also cement him as the true champion, since there are still a lot of question marks on his victory against Petr Yan. But yeah, we'll stick to what we said earlier. A champion isn't bothered by who he has to fight if it means getting a shot at gold. Sure, he might feel more in control if he knows his next fight is for the bantamweight title, but it shouldn't really matter if he has that champion mindset. Regardless of what goes down in the coming months, expect to see a lot of action in the 135 division, including some major changes, as well as a new champion. That's it from our side, folks. So what do you think? Will Sean be getting a shot at the title in his next appearance inside the cage? Let us know in the comments below. Don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe to the channel for more exciting videos in the future. Thanks for watching, guys, and see you next time.